Hey everyone, this is my final review on the Brooks Ghost 12 GTX. If you haven't already checked out my initial impression video, you can go back and look at that. That will be linked right up here. In that, I give my first impression and how this shoe felt for the first few times that I wore it. Now, the two big things that I really wanted to question or look at over a longer period is how this softer compound in the heel would hold up and how it would, or if it would cause any fatigue in through the muscles of my legs. And I can say that after 4 or 5 runs, you really get used to how this is. And with most people shortening their stride these days and trying to midfoot strike still, not hammer onto the heel and put the brakes on every time they land, it didn't really affect the way I ran whatsoever in my stride. What I did find is when I ran with my dog, and he loves to pull, especially going down hills, when I was putting on the brakes going down hills and he was pulling, this portion and still is so forgiving compared to just the normal running shoe that I would wear. So that probably saved a little bit of my knees. Would it cause a little bit more fatigue because it was a little bit more giving? Yes, and I did feel my legs a little bit after the run, probably the first few runs a little more than normal, but it was nothing that was crazy that I couldn't go out and run a day or two later. Now, the second thing, and probably the most important thing with the Brooks Ghost 12 GTX, is how waterproof it is. Now, this is obviously a winter running shoe or for wet conditions. And in here where I'm living, you're basically doing that into the winter where there's a lot of thaws happening, and also in the spring, which is just coming up. Now, I had the opportunity to test this quite a bit in some wet conditions, but also cold conditions. And I can tell you that this thing is 100% waterproof. It is unbelievable. It does not look like it's gonna be waterproof whatsoever when you look at the upper, but it is. The only way you can tell that it is upper-proof, or that there's a difference in the material that they use, is the crinkling that you get, that tissue paper sound in the toe box. That never went away, but you just get used to it. It's not really loud at all after a while. However, it does keep your foot completely bone dry. So there's a few videos where I went out and I deliberately went through puddles at the start of a run, and the weather was below the freezing mark, and you'd actually get, at the end of the run, you'd look down at your shoe and the toe box would look like it's frozen with ice, but your foot was completely dry. So that was awesome. I absolutely love the fact that this shoe is 100% waterproof. Now, the other thing with Gore-Tex shoes is a lot of times they aren't that breathable. And in some cases, if you're wearing these in the summer, you can overheat and sweat. The one thing about wearing this on the colder, windier days is that it does block a lot of the wind. So I found just wearing normal cotton socks, I was absolutely fine. My foot was not freezing. A lot of times when you're wearing just normal running shoes in those cold days with the wind coming, as you're moving forward with your foot into more of the planting phase, when your toe is pointed down like that, you feel the wind penetrate through the toe box and make your feet absolutely cold. So my final verdict on these is I would recommend the Ghost 12 GTX for anyone who wants to have a comfortable shoe that is in a neutral position, but they also want to keep their foot dry and warm over those colder winter wet months.